Digital 410 Productions proudly presents the What's in Your Head podcast.
Digitized live from the ACT Computer Studios in Cape Coral, Florida, it's the What's in Your Head podcast with your hosts Gordon and Don Abernathy.
What's up, OG5? It's Tuesday, and we're all back here together. Our nice little Tuesday evening family. Closest of the close, the OG5. I want to say welcome. Welcome, everybody. And joining us from Las Vegas, Nevada, as always. Speaking of loyal, it's the one and only Gordon Abernathy. Gordon, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing all right, man. Doing all right.
Getting good grades. We do this every week, and I'm the only one that sings along. Going on.
Although, I would say that the heat is coming on in Vegas.
It's a dry
90s.
heat.
Well, I mean, it's cute and all, but it's still the most humid time of the year out here. Right around 100 degrees, and it is bringing out all the cretins and weirdos. Yesterday, I was at a 7-Eleven eating food I wasn't supposed to eat because eating my feelings right now. And there was a homeless guy in there with just, I can't say tighty whities, but he was definitely rocking just his underwear.
Saggy baggies.
I think they were actually boxer briefs. But
Well, you know, it's something about humidity that brings out the craziness. That's why Florida has so many goddamn
heat,
nutballs
yeah.
running around.
Today I was down eating more food that I shouldn't have eaten, and Trop, that's just down the street from work, and the hookers were out on parade big time.
Hookers on parade.
Waving at you
Hey,
as you're
hey,
getting
baby.
out of, as you're pulling out of the shitty
You
drive-through.
looking for a date?
Fat white lady walks by and she drops her sunglasses like it's in the fucking 80s and staring at you.
Hey,
And all you
sugar.
can think is, move along, skank. And here's the thing. I mean, hookers are bad enough, but hookers in the heat, all I can think is stank ass.
What always surprised me is Carrie and I used to watch a lot of Cops
Stank ass, man. Smell is the first thing that comes to my mind.
back before we had cable. When we first started dating, we lived in a small apartment. Watched a lot of Cops on broadcast television.
Man, I miss Life PD.
Sometimes you'd have the special episode where they have the Vice Squad episode, setting up undercover stings, going to catch us some Johns. After all, hookers are the empty bags. It's the Johns that got the money to throw around, right? They're the ones you can embarrass.
So
Some-
they say.
Some may be a pillar of society, some may be a churchgoer, some could be a small businessman. And the threat of embarrassing them amongst their community makes them cough up that bail money and legal fees awfully quick. So after all, you want to go for the Johns. But what always surprised me... Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, that's fine.
What always surprised me, maybe I just assumed hookers had self-esteem. What always blew my mind, and I
Blue.
well, you'll see where I'm going. What always blew my mind is the inordinately, incredibly,
Inordinate?
inordinate,
Okay.
means lower than inordinate. Well, how would you make inordinate fit in this sentence? How extremely cheap the price of a sexual act was. How inordinately low the price of a blowjob was. You know, silly me. I've never experienced or visited a woman of the night. I've never even so much been to a Yankee Cranky shop. But when I'm hearing these chick offering up oral sex,
I've heard it called that before, but that's cool.
you never heard it called the Yankee Cranky shop?
No, I've heard it called a soak and poke.
I thought the Yankee
rub and
Cranky
tug.
shop was the universal explanation of what those places are. Are there
Maybe that's where. Maybe in Florida, that's where the Yankees get their cranky bankied. But
But I just would assume that oral sex would cost more than $25, even from a hooker. And this was like,
wouldn't know.
well, once again, I was watching Cops. You know, be
Well,
roasting
now
shit.
is that in like 19?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm going to say. That's $25 in 2022 money.
2007 money?
Yeah. So what with inflation, what is that? $38 now. I would still assume that oral sex would cost more than $38, but apparently not.
I tell you, these chicks, they're just gross. Walking down the street in the heat, ass cheeks hanging out, moose knuckles ablazing.
He did it again. Caused trouble. Hurt someone's feelings.
Oh,
Yet
yeah.
he didn't want
What's up,
to.
Chris Quinton? What's up,
Yes,
Morgan Long?
troublesome people are
This is
often
preemptive
people in
on my
trouble.
part.
They may be mentally ill. Find out how you can help. Write Better Mental Health, Box 3000, New York 1, New York.
I better double down on this one.
Hi, my name is Tom McDonald. Welcome to the show. If you are easily offended, then you probably should go.
Now look, when it comes to the world of sexual proclivities and procliverations, would it be procliverations?
Maybe stay away from the 3-syllable words this evening.
I'm tired. I came home, mowed the grass, took a nap, got up, did 15 minutes on a mixed fitness bike, took my second shower, went to the grocery store, got beverages for everyone, came home and started this show. So I'm a little tired after working all day. Whatever.
Is it 3 shower weather in Florida yet?
Well, these are quick. These are like just rinse the funk off. I'm not even using soap. I'm just getting in there and wiping the sweat off from taking a shower, from mowing the grass. But
Airing it out, so to speak.
whatever your sexual proclivities may be, I could care less. If you want to identify as something else, that's cool. But I couldn't help but laugh, and this may make me an asshole. Remember when we grew up working in fast food restaurants, or restaurants in general, or any places that dealt with a lot of trash?
Aye.
Who would be chosen to take the heavy trash cans out to the dumpsters?
The young scrapping boy.
And in a pinch, maybe the more strapping girl. But
Sometimes it was a team effort.
yes, when you got industrial sized trash cans, you can't have like a 83-pound chick trying to pick up a 95.
Swab the junk and pop a top.
Pop a top
According to Chris.
again. So I was driving by a restaurant the other morning,
Okay.
and I couldn't help but notice a very large, broad-shouldered woman, if you will, dragging the trash can out to the dumpster. And I said, yep, you can identify with any sex you want, but when you're the biggest one on the team, you're still taking out the trash.
So let that be a lesson to you folks. If you're the biggest guy that you know, maybe you should not work in a restaurant.
If you're the largest biological person, but even if you identify as someone who may be the fairer sex, when it comes out to the hefty lifting and the shitty work, they're still giving it to the biggest, strappingest one on the floor, regardless
You
of what you
know
identify
how much
with.
trash I changed when I worked at McDonald's?
Wendy's. And Wendy's, and I had this thought tonight, too. I was walking out of Publix, and this poor kid was trying to vacuum the vestibule. That's a fun word to say. A vestibule. And clearly Publix has that old-timey feel. They like to have old-timey customer service, and you'll remember this. Remember when we
Hey,
worked...
Vera, I need you to go vacuum the vestibule.
Yes, but during business hours, Vera couldn't use the power vacuum. She had to use the
The
Bissell.
hokey. The Bissell. I think they called it a hokey in restaurants.
But the powerless, force-driven...
Old school. Think, if you will, of how lawnmowers used to be, but take that and turn it into a vacuum cleaner for them.
Or your wife's new fancy Swiffer because she don't want to mop. But imagine that with 2 brushes on it. Imagine pushing around a Roomba with a mop bucket when the battery's
Pretty
dead.
much. A Roomba on a stick
with dead batteries. It has.
with that battery.
So during business hours, because they wouldn't want to offend the atmosphere. It's so quaint and funny to think of this, because you walk into a McDonald's now, you can't hear shit because they're grinding up ice for their frozen drinks. But back in the day, back in the 90s, when your job was to get the Bissell and clean the dining room, you had to grab the Bissell. Bissell's a brand name. You couldn't grab the vacuum cleaner because they wouldn't want that loud engine to disturb the ambiance. They want people to eat in peace. And I was reminded of this because I was walking out of Publix and somebody was walking in front of me. The guy walked by the kid turned off the vacuum cleaner. He went through the door, he turned it on, started vacuuming. I came out, he turned off. And in my head, I'm like, they must have a no vacuum policy around the
Well,
customers.
if they had one of them fancy jetpack vacuums that you could barely hear.
Yeah, but it reminded me of old times in the rules at Wendy's.
Yep.
But
So, Chris,
I'm getting to this because you kicked down doors because I was the biggest guy. Yep.
that makes you the first target too, right?
Yep.
and the biggest target, so you're kind of the shield.
I can't imagine them putting him at point.
Believe me, I would be that guy too. Don't worry, Chris.
No, well, he served, and what he's talking.
I know. If I served, that would be me because I'm
But-
a fucking monster.
Well,
So,
it's he's
a little flabby.
He's
but-
a little taller than me, and so they
Holy
joke,
shit.
They joke. That's what I'm saying. In the reenacting world, there was one guy taller than me, and we call him SOS, first one shot, because he's the biggest guy in the battlefield. And then
or just call you it.
and that's what surprised me, that they'd make Chris knock down the doors. Well, not only is he kicking down doors, but I guess he's providing cover for the guy standing behind him, because not only is he tall as me, but once you put on the flak vest and all the other shit, he's probably the width
You're a
of the
human
damn door.
shield.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But back what I was getting to, the reason the whole thing with the Wendy's and the Bissell brought up, and you're talking about taking out trash bags, at Wendy's, if no customers were in there, you were allowed to take in the dolly. You could take the dolly to the trash can and wheel that sumbitch out. But if it was full of customers, you had to drag lightly and quietly the big-ass trash can through the vestibule, it's twice in one show, out to the sidewalk, at which point you could use the dolly. You couldn't bring the dolly inside because it was too distracting for the ambiance. But
You didn't take it out the back door?
not the dining room ones. Remember Wendy's? They had the dual flappers right next to the door, so you would actually be. You would
See, most of my time was actually at McDonald's, and
the
everything
Wendy's they
went
had
out
them
the
right by
back.
the door. So if you were to take them out back, you'd actually be dragging them through more. You would be dragging them through more room inside to get them through the back than you are to just swing them around the corner and out the front.
actually
door.
we had a basement at that one in Grove City. I don't know if you knew that.
Vestibule.
3 times in one show. That was now a record for this
But yeah.
very podcast.
But those jobs suck so bad that you were happy to do the trash run. Like, 20 minutes
You know,
away
it's
from the
it's
grill.
interesting.
Get off the grill for 5-10 minutes, and you make that trash run take as long as you possibly could.
So thinking of old jobs, before everything went to hell in a handbasket on Friday, I was at a late lunch with one of our clients.
At the
And we were
Yankee Cranky
talking, he
shop.
grew up in Chicago, South Side. But we both had the same kind of job when we were in our strapping early 20s.
Second time you said strapping at one show.
A job that some people say is really good if you're getting ready to go into the service as training.
Loading
That's
trucks.
Loading trucks at Roadway Package Systems, which became FedEx Ground. So we shared a lot of very good stories. I think I probably put in a couple of years there, it seems like.
Well, between that and UPS, you bounced around between a lot of the unloading and loading. I worked at RPS.
I never unloaded. It was always loading. I always loaded between 2,000 and 3,000 boxes an hour, between 4 and 6 trucks.
Now, this is back in the day when
I
there
was
was
a fucking
Irish ways
stud.
and Irish laws. You stood up for the no, it's a house
Dude,
band.
have you ever had... I had 2 supervisors fight over me on who was getting me on their dock.
Well, what I was saying is this is
Literally come to fisticuffs.
this was
almost.
back in the day when they didn't. This wasn't fancy Amazon. This isn't modern day UPS. RPS was an independent operation at best. And
with that damn tilt tray.
I worked there for 2 weeks, long enough to get my first check, and said, "Fuck this! This ain't worth the heat and the exhaust." My first day there, I got dehydrated.
Damn, my brother must really like to fucking torture himself.
I threw up my first day working there. It was so hot, and I fucking dehydrated. And they only let you work 4
well,
hour
I was
shifts because it
smart
was so
enough
bad.
to work the night shift.
I didn't have a choice. I had to work day shift, and it was so hot. They only made you work 4 or 5 hour shifts because those shifts just sucked. But anyhow, what I was getting to is this isn't the modern day where you have these fancy conveyor belts with some sort of package scanner every 3.5 feet. They would have this shit come down a chute that barely worked. You couldn't. The flaps didn't work. Half the rollers in the trailer floor were missing. And they gave you a sheet of paper and a giant crayon. So as you're loading the
Well,
truck,
strapped to your wrist, right? Like a.
no, mine was in a plastic envelope hanging off the end of the by the door.
They had that, and we also had the one on the wrist too.
Well, that's probably for the long timers, not the short timers.
Yeah.
They didn't want to pay for that wristband yet. And so you had to look at the box, check the serial number or zip code, and then check it on the list. And if you're brand new, you don't have the zip codes for that truck memorized. And you had to do it all while more and more shit piled up in the heat. And that was just rough sledding. And then
It
you go
was
home
a
inevitably
live
wash
action-
your crayon in your clothes and leave it in the dryer and fuck everybody else's clothes up in the house.
So you know I became a supervisor there at one point in time, right?
I think so.
Yeah. That's right before I said, fuck it all, I'm going into the trades.
No.
That was my next step. But, yeah, it's so funny because we'd get there and I'd just start jamming out, loading these super tight walls, and then at the top it's kind of loose in the back, and that's where I throw all the loose crap. Then put the balls up in front. just keep blowing these trucks out. It was, but you know what? I look back at that with fond memories. I remember one time I was supervisor, and this guy, there was a guy there that he was anti-deodorant because it causes Alzheimer's.
No, one of the silver guys. There's silver in that there.
You could smell him 3 or 4 dock doors down. He was that bad. Another guy who had a problem with Crohn's disease. But I remember, man, when those trucks would get blown out, those belts would get all jammed up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was a little bit of a screamer and yeller, but I was also a screamer and yeller that was right next to them fucking outloading them too.
Yeah.
You know, so it's one of those, I'm not just going to scream and yell and move on. I'm going to show you how it's fucking done. And, you know, right, wrong, or indifferent, that was my approach in my 20s. That's when I actually dipped from time to time. I'd get that shit's going to hell. You throw a little right there in the lip, and it wasn't long. It's only
Oh, I thought you meant like dipped out of town. Like, I'm out of here. Like, oh, like the
No.
time you pulled the plates off the
No.
Omni and left it
no,
back
I'm
there.
talking Copenhagen. Very, very short run for me, but that would just get me buzzing along and jamming out.
What's up, Mike?
Yep, just
This would be a
remember
perfect
those
segue.
days.
I had this on the list of shit for the last 2 weeks. We got so busy, I forgot to bring it up. This takes place in the same general area, but I'm going to undemned names and locations for the safety of those involved, even though
Facebook keeps freezing.
well, I can't control Facebook.
I know. Just letting you know.
Actually, I'm looking at Facebook and it's fine on mine, so maybe it's your connection.
It's spinning.
But to save face for those involved, I'm going to change the names and locations. But shortly after I graduated high school,
Kind of like Fargo.
even though this is well past what the hell they call that? Statute of limitations on this. This is mild misdemeanor at best, but anyhow, still going to change names. This was shortly after I graduated. By then, all my friends from high school had their habits, drinking, smoking, or whatnot. I can't remember where I was. I was out driving around somewhere, and we met one of our friends, or he came to somebody's house. I can't remember the situation. I can just remember being outside, and this person pulling up in his car.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Guys, come here. You won't believe this." I'm like, huh? He's like, "Apparently, I got so fucked up last night that I blacked out." Okay, so what else is new? You're known for this. And no, Gord, it's not who you think it is. He said, "No, come here." He popped his trunk, and in his trunk, he had boxes upon boxes of blow pops, lemon heads,
Oh, Jesus.
Apple Jacks, Laffy Taffies, blow pops, ring pops. I'm like, what the fuck did you do? Apparently, he got so drunk, he wanted, he wanted to relive his glory days. And he headed over to the area where all the youth baseball fields, soccer fields, softball diamonds, and some of the nicer neighborhood towns like that, they have structures, permanent structures, with a little room that may or may not have sliding doors that lock to close down and allow maybe a service window where someone might buy concessions during a game, watching their kids play softball. Apparently, he got so drunk that he broke into said candy shack and cleared out everything and put it in his trunk and forgot about it until the next day when he went to get something out of his trunk and just discovered
This wasn't a
bounty.
guy with an animal nickname, was
No, that's why it says not the person you thought it was. That person
it?
didn't.
Well, no, we had like 8 or 9 friends.
No, this is a
with
guy my a year lower than me. He literally stole every goddamn bit of candy, boxes, plastic barrels. Just his entire trunk was nothing but a mobile concession stand from the local soccer and football field.
Oh, did he at least make himself some money off of his ill-gotten gains?
No, because at that point we're all if this was during high
Just like
school.
free fucking
Yeah, at this
candy.
point, you're not going to nickel and dime your friends for lollipops and this and that. No, it was take a handful, take whatever you want. But I think back to how many of my friends back then were known for doing small misdemeanors, and luckily I
Is
was
this
never
guy
with
a
them.
successful businessman now?
No. Well, he could be. I haven't heard from him in years.
Yeah.
But no, I haven't heard from him in years. But I was just thinking, it's so funny how many people I hung out with in those days that were either vandalizing shit or fucking
Fucking
stuff up.
Darryls, all the Darryls we hung out with.
But I was smart enough that I never joined in. I'll catch up with you guys later. I got better shit to do, like tracking down women.
We hung out with a fair amount of degens,
Well, you know.
That's what happens when you ride a skateboard.
Wonder if the candy melted. Nice 4th grade stash.
Oh, yeah, it was probably just gross.
No, because it was the very, very next day. Now, last week or the week before, Gordon started a segment that we call "Don't You Hear Good." I've still yet to pull a title for, but this week's song, I'm going to play the acoustic version. It's sung by somebody completely different.
Just to throw us off a little, huh?
Well, just because it's a more palatable version of the song. You heard the new scuttlebutt behind this?
I hear you call my
Nope.
name, and it feels like home.
So the word on TikTok is the true meaning about this song.
It's
about performing oral sex.
Like a little prayer. I'm down on my knees. I wanna take you there in the midnight.
I can hear it.
hour. I can feel your power. Just
feel your
like
power?
a prayer. You know I'll take you there. I hear your voice. It's like an angel sighing.
Definitely considering it came from Madonna, I could definitely
have
see it.
no choice. I hear your voice. Feels like flying.
Definitely the feel your power.
I close my eyes. Oh God, I think I'm falling out of the sky. I close my eyes. Heaven help me when you call my name. It's like a little prayer. I'm down on my knees. I wanna take you there in the midnight hour. I can feel your power, just like a.
I think it's a nice way of saying he came to a finish. I can feel
Yeah.
your power. Back of the head. But yeah,
I
that's,
mean, if she went with something like in the middle of that song, it would have been great.
I ran the search for that while it was muted. I typed in acoustic, and I was hoping, but it wasn't. Back to the Columbus days, we're just talking about CD 101 used to play a version.
CD 101, the one and only one.
They used to play a version that some dude recorded in studio on acoustic, and it was fucking fantastic. But I've never been able to. It was a CD 101 exclusive, and I was never.
Come to find out, he lived in either the Short North or
German Village. Gerbil Village. Oh, you did it again.
That was back in the day.
Oh, I'm
It's
sure it
ridiculous.
hasn't changed.
Well, it's probably quite a nice area of town now.
Well, it was nice.
I don't
then.
know. I haven't been there in fucking Jesus Christ, 2014. Yeah, I haven't been there long enough.
I haven't been to.
I was to go there this year, but everything got expensive.
I was there when Katie graduated. That was pretty much the last time I went.
And now for the What's in Your Head podcast TikTok lesson of the week.
Men don't voice their feelings because half the time they end up upsetting their woman when they do. And then they have to console her about how his feelings made her feel.
No
and this has
truer
been the
words
What's in Your Head podcast TikTok lesson of the week.
has ever been spoken by a
After-
female to other females.
After all, some people are not looking for solutions. They're just looking for something to complain about.
Yeah, but then they ask you to share your feelings, and all of a sudden you're on the defensive trying to console them.
It's been such a long time, and since that one was so short, we're going to do a double header on the TikTok lesson of the week.
And now for the What's in Your Head podcast TikTok lesson of the week.
Right now, America is being trolled by an 18-year-old psychopath, and he has a front row seat to the entire show. Everything this guy did was designed to get media attention and drive the biggest divide possible by placating to every talking point the anti-gun far left has. He packaged together an online mass shooting starter kit, gave it to the media and said, "Make me famous and make some more mass shooters." And the media said, "Okay." And of course, right on cue, here comes the anti-gun lobby and their anti-gun politician patsies exploiting this shooting to push more gun control. Here's the irony. The shooter said he chose to carry it out in New York due to its strict open carry gun laws, which would make it harder for someone to stop him. This isn't rocket science. Shooters like these are cowards, looking for easy targets. That's why he didn't run down the block trying to shoot street dudes in that area.
Because street dudes would have shot back.
Yep, they wouldn't have given a shit. Yeah, I think that is absolutely true. That's one of the first thing I thought is as I see every one of these mass shootings get blown up on the media, and then you always notice there's one that follows right after, one that follows right after, one that follows right after.
Who was the Asian kid? Remember the Asian kid a couple years back, maybe 10 years ago?
I don't know, some Chinese dude just from here just shot up a Taiwanese church in
There was
LA,
an Asian kid who shot up a college a couple years back.
Okay.
And you can all probably remember the mug shot, but you don't remember the Asian kid's name. The reason you don't remember the Asian kid's name is there was like a brief moment in history, like super brief, like fucking so brief that we don't even remember it, where the whole nation had gotten so tired of these mass shootings that the media for 3.5 seconds stopped, and they all agreed, hey, you know what, we're tired of making these fuckers household names. There's a school of thought that maybe these kids are doing this to become, you know, fucking horrible famous. Mm-hmm. And for this one kid...
That's Virginia Tech, by the way.
Oh my God. This is so bad. There's his mugshot. You know what I typed in Google?
But
Asian kid who shot up school. I literally typed that verbatim, and it came up.
One.
It came up with Sing Hu Cho, and there's his mugshot, and that was it. He was born 1984. Sang Hu Cho, Korean kid. Let's see, was an American mass murderer responsible for Virginia Tech shooting in 2007. Now, once again, no one remembers his name, but we all remember the mugshot. Now, that is kind of a tricky name to keep saying in the middle of a news broadcast. Maybe this is the truth why they did this, but
It goes by Ken.
we're going to rewind and just assume they're being honest. There was a moment in time, a brief moment, where all the media said, hey, we're so tired of these mass shootings. These kids are just doing it to get famous. We are no longer going to say this kid's name. I think they just didn't want to pronounce it 300 times a night. And so they stopped showing his mugshot, and they just referred to him as the shooter because that was their idea to erase him from history. And that lasted for one story. And here we are, just continues and continues and continues.
Yeah, it needs to be not paid as detailed attention. I think there's
Crazy thing
it's
is,
tragedy, but
I didn't even
you got to
hear.
use a little reverse psychology.
I didn't even hear about this story because I haven't been watching TV and the news. I heard it third hand through TikToks and social media posts. I've been so out of loop with the news and that I didn't even hear when it happened. But I did. It's funny because you sent me that link, and the one thing I did hear about it was, oh, he used the fascist right Fox News talking points in his manifesto. That's one of the things I heard online. Jesus Christ. So yeah, here we go.
Well, what was it I heard? The left has moved so far left that now the center is the far right.
Yep. Here's
Let's
some
just try to
fun.
find the center.
Prepare for arrival. Tech pioneers warn of alien invasion.
Sweet.
From our friends.
Might as well.
But it's not what you
Everything
think.
else
Gordon.
is going.
It's not what
That's
you think.
what's next.
Venturebeat.com. Alien species are heading for the planet, and we have no reason to believe it will be friendly. Some experts predict it'll get here within 30 years, while others insist it will arrive far sooner.
Some say it's already happened.
Nobody knows what it looks like, but it'll share two key traits with humans. It'll be intelligent, and it'll be self-aware. No, this alien's not coming from a distant planet. It'll be born right here on Earth, hatched in a research lab at a major university or large corporation. I'm referring to the first artificial general intelligence that reaches or exceeds the human level cognition.
There's so many movies and stories about this kind of stuff.
As I write these words, billions are being spent to bring this alien to life.
Billions.
Billions with a B. As it would be viewed as one of the greatest technological achievements in human history. But unlike other inventions, this one will have a mind of its own. Literally.
We've seen Terminator, right?
And if it believes, like every other intelligent species we know, it'll put its own self-interest first, working to maximize its
Known as
prospect
Skynet.
of survival.
Skynet.
Should we fear superior intelligence driven to its own goals, values, and self-interest? Many people reject this question, believing we will build AI systems with their own image, ensuring they think, feel, and behave just like we do. Because
Oh,
there's
we're
no
all
such
doomed then.
thing as human psychopaths who go on shooting sprees.
Or people like Putin or Hitler or Lenin or Marx.
This is extremely unlikely to be the case. Artificial minds
Because
will
we'll
not
program
be
the
created.
bullshit out.
Artificial minds will not be created by writing software with carefully crafted rules and make them think like us. Instead, engineers feed massive databases into a simple algorithm that automatically adjusts their own parameters, making millions upon millions of tiny changes to their structure until the intelligence emerges. Much like AI.
Sort of like social media networks now.
You know how when you go to a website and they have the CAPTCHA? Which picture contains the palm tree?
The one that you got to go through like 4 fucking different versions of it because
That's not a palm tree. That's an elk. Not an oak, but literally a fucking elk. That's a palm tree. Try again. Which one are Vespa scooters? Well, that's a VIP. That don't count. That's a Vespa. According to Joe Rogan and
And
other,
that guy on the VIP will never become that future champion.
according to Joe Rogan and other people, they say when you're doing this CAPTCHA, you're actually helping to program artificial intelligence by helping them identify what a stoplight is, what a palm tree is, what a Vespa is, what a mountain range is, what a crosswalk is.
Well,
And we know, for those of you who like Reddit, there are
Jesus.
there are subreddit channels where people are arguing, but those people are all artificial intelligent bots arguing with each other.
bots are arguing with bots. Ah,
And they're saying
well,
that
they're just as bad as us already.
they're saying that during the Trump election and the Trump days during the Trump terms, I think they said 60% of the evangelical-based Facebook pages were actually ran by Russian artificial intelligence bots.
Trolls.
Now, when you hear Russian troll bots, they're not people in basements typing away and there's really cool pictures. Have you noticed all the pictures on the internet when it tells stories about hackers and cybercrime? They always show some dude in like a hood with some neon lights in the background and a super cool computer. Have you noticed like
With
the
a-
stock
with a
footage of
mask?
all hackers? Yeah, they always look straight out of a fucking movie instead of just like
Well, we got to make them look sinister.
instead of looking like the comic book guy from The Simpsons sitting in his mom's basement with his beer gut typing away on his Linux box.
And in reality, it just looks like your computer.
Yeah, this looks like it's just some
Looks like a desktop.
booger covered laptop sitting on the coffee table next to the video game controller and the bong.
Yep.
But yeah,
Cheetos dust all over everything.
it is getting a little crazy. I don't know, especially somebody who works in the IT industry and now somebody who works in an industry where, we specialize in prevention of cyber stuff. It's so ridiculous. It's just
Where does it end?
sometimes
Does it end well?
no.
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 It's going to become a dystopian future, all ran by these people who program these algorithms.
I got a kid who walks around the house 24 hours a day with Xbox earphones on because she's talking to people on Xbox. Now, while she has not the generic ones like we had with the one ear cover and the McDonald's headset, this is the full Turtle Beach wireless over-the-ear headphones. So she has these on with the music playing from whatever background game, plus the dumb dipshit 14-year-old boys, sometimes 18-year-old boys in New Zealand that I got to fucking block. While she's talking to these dudes, she's on her phone watching TikTok with the phone cranked up. Walking around the house asking people questions. Hey, what's for dinner? Huh? Pizza. What? Take off your
That's called
headphones.
no situational awareness.
It's like, Sariana, how many times am I going to tell you? If you're going to ask good questions, If you're looking for information, take the headphones off.
Huh?
You guys don't understand. That's just sometimes you'll see my mouth, but if I'm sitting just right like this, you can't see my mouth. I'll mute my microphone and yell, "Sariana, shut your door," because I can hear you. But it's just she is so addicted and attached to technology.
And that's probably the norm.
It is, and for those of you parents at home who aren't aware of this, and you have Comcast, download the Xfinity app on your phone. Your days of physically wrestling the Xbox or PlayStation controller away from your kid to make them do homework, long gone. Your days of having to remove the console from their bedroom because they're not doing homework, forget about it.
Now, do you just hear a bellow from the room when they can't get on?
She was
scream,
giving
as it
Carrie
were?
attitude the other night because Carrie was sitting in the living room. Now,
And you
there's
got the kill
times.
switch on your phone, basically.
There's times where Sariana's in her room with the headphones on. I'm in my bathroom, which is on the farthest corner of the house. I
With
got
the fart fan on?
TV in my bedroom on, the fart fan on. I have two of them in there. The one above my bathtub is broken. I got to replace. My TikTok on, and I can still hear her conversation all the way across the house. Because not only does she listen to dudes on the headphones and talk to them, she then talks to people on her phone via speakerphone. Heaven forbid she hold the thing up to her fucking head. Well, she can't because she has a headphone on.
And it's like one of the worst habits I see
So
in
I
public.
can
with
hear
people.
this, let's just say 70 feet away behind doors, TVs, and fart fans. Now, the other night, Carrie had the audacity, the nerve, the gall, if you will, to sit in the living room on the other side of the wall and play Xbox herself. She likes to play a little Xbox. She likes to get in there and do a little
Destiny?
Overwatch. No, Destiny's long gone. Overwatch.
Same thing.
She paused her game because she had to get a beverage. And she hears Sariana talking to somebody she's not supposed to talk to. Or saying content that would allude that this person may be in the party. So Carrie simply poked her head and said, "Hey, stupid McGee better not be on there now." A normal person, whether stupid McGee was on there or not, would simply say, "Yes, Mom, no worries, he's not on there." Problem solved. Right? Right? Just simply say, "Yeah, I got you. He's not in here." Okay, cool. Instead, she says, "Stop eavesdropping and mind your own business."
That's it. You're done.
And Carrie said, "Excuse me." And she starts copping attitude. So me, across the
I'm
room.
going to give you a chance to correct that statement.
Yeah, we
Or
always do.
verify it.
So as she
You
continues
choose
to
wisely.
climb the roller coaster of attitude before she goes over the apex, she's creeping up that hill. And as she gets ready to throw her
Is
hands
there a
over,
clanking sound like an old school
Yeah.
wooden roller coaster?
she's got her hands up, getting
Clank,
ready to
clank,
go
clank,
over to
clank,
drop that
clank,
last
clank,
attitude
clank,
bomb.
clank, clank, clank,
I
clank,
pull
clank.
my phone out of my pocket, pull up the Xfinity app, go to devices, scroll through all the many tech devices in my house, past the sprinkler system, past the two Alexas, past the Fire Stick that I don't use because I get Amazon on all my phones, past my laptop, past my other computer, find the one that says Nuggets Xbox,
Kill switch engaged.
Pause.
Not just a band.
until I unpause. Carrie, at this point, and this is step 2 for you all, every one of your cell phone provider services will have parental controls options, especially
Use
if
them.
you're smart and your kid's phone is on your plan and not an independent phone plan.
Why would anybody ever do an independent flip?
People are dumb.
Do people do this?
People use the recycle bin folder on their computer for file retention, then get upset when it gets emptied. So yes,
To what?
people use their recycle bins on their computers and Outlook as file retention, and then get surprised when the files are gone.
These aren't the same type of people that will be programming AI, are they?
No,
Well,
these are the
maybe.
kind of people who wonder, well, do you keep your tax paperwork in your kitchen trash can and then get upset when the maid takes out the trash? You don't keep important files and things called recycle bin, but I digress.
And then they're a victim somewhere.
So as she's now getting more and more upset because I paused her Xbox and she's copping more attitude, Carrie simply pulls out her phone, turns off her cell phone.
Next.
Done. I don't have to wrestle your phone from your cold, dead hands. I don't have to disconnect your console and remove it from your room anymore. I just pause. Yeah, you can use your phone with no internet, no service. Not a fun that'll do you. Sure, you can play Xbox.
She's got to become completely unglued when y'all do that.
It's like a 3-year-old when you take their fucking teddy bear away. It's insane how it's like. Remember that guy we all knew who was a super pothead? And he would drop his Pyrex glass on the sidewalk and break it. But he didn't have the money to buy a new one. How
Never
forlorn.
met that guy. Have
and
you met that
upset.
guy?
Every hippie's broken a glass pipe in their day.
Yeah, but I've never seen them get devastated.
They may not.
They usually got 3 or 4 more.
No, well, depends on how poor they are. But anyhow, it's
I lived at a ski resort, so a lot of those kids are
it's
in a higher tax bracket than me.
but it's insane. And the thing is a lot of times for homework, it's like, do your homework. No, I don't want to. Boop, turn it off. Now, you've got 10 minutes worth of homework to do, but instead you'll come and scream at us for 3.5 hours and cry and have a
You
fucking
could have been
meltdown.
done with this
Yep.
3 hours and 20 minutes ago.
But she's so addicted to it, it's insane.
Is there any kind of programs out there to help break the cycle of addiction?
Yes! And how do I know this? Because in 8th
Could you-
grade, they actually had a course where they had to read an entire paragraph and ironically watch a PowerPoint slideshow about a kid who's addicted to video games and how he had to go to a literal facility, much like a rehab center, because he was addicted to video games.
So he's in there with the sex addicts, drug addicts, and the alcohol.
But when people hear things that strike a little too close to home, they don't have interest in it or even go stronger the other way, so she refused to do that assignment.
Chris Clinton asked if you've exceeded your syllable limit.
I don't know, but Chris Clinton told us like 8 minutes ago that he was going to bed because 4 a.m.'s calling. So I'm glad that our content is so riveting that it's keeping you up past your bedtime. Chris is another guy who got he got himself a government job. He got one in good. Sadly, he's got to get up the ass crack of dawn, but it's
I
worth
still
the
got it
benefits
before
and all
too,
that.
and I got a private sector job, so I get it. I'm right with you, Chris.
So this
4
morning,
a.m. comes too early.
so this morning I got up at 6 a.m. and I wanted
That's
to
sleeping in for me.
I wanted to do a little ride on my Mixed Fitness bike before I went to work.
Yeah.
And I decided, you know what? I deserve to be under my own power, under my own control, make my own decisions in life. I am not going to take one of these 15-minute high-intensity rides. I'm not going to take a recovery ride where some chick in tights is telling me how fast to pedal. I'm not going to do one of these rhythm rides where some ambiguously gay or non-gay dude in short shorts is telling me how fast to pedal. No, I'm going to
Disclaimer.
do a scenic ride. I'm going to do, and I have the photo on here from this morning. Actually,
Doing some
yesterday
single
morning.
track, are you?
This was, in fact, the scenic ride Southern California Trails. And it's cool. You're up riding in the Hollywood Hills and actually stop and pause, and you're out overlooking the Hollywood sign from behind. They so cleverly edit out the scenes of all the homeless people. But hey, no one wants to see homeless people when you're doing a scenic ride in Southern California on your Mixed Fitness bike at 6 in the morning. Now, some of these in the past are done on streets, wide trails, places that clearly a bicycle could go. And I often wonder, they got a cat with a GoPro on their head riding a bike, or are they getting a little more advanced? Well, this morning on the scenic ride Southern California Trails, I noticed that our camera, if you will, was not exactly staying on the path, but he was moving at a good steady clip. And I remembered, oh, this is a drone. That's cool. Kind of takes you out of it. You're on a bike, all of a sudden you're riding off the trail. Now, I don't know. I assume that the fine people at Mixed Fitness, they're not hiring out drone operators. They're probably just buying some stock footage off some drone operator's website who says, here's some scenic rides. At least I hope that's the case, because this drone operator was a dick. And the guy who edited the video didn't give a fuck either, because sometimes, you know, you'll be riding in
Yeah, it was probably the same guy.
the screen just changes in your new part. So this drone is flying through some horse trails in Southern California. And the first one, you'll see people, hikers on the trail, and they'll look around like, what the hell? And oh, that's a drone. 3 times. This drone's flying down the trail. One guy literally had to grab his wife and yank her out of the way because she was that close to getting nailed in the back of the head of a flying drone down a walking path. Another guy had to dodge like he's dodging a right hook from a Muhammad Ali. This fucking drone pilot, he gave no shits. He was after a check. He wanted to get this footage done. He's flying this drone down these horse trails, these hiking trails. These poor sons of bitches are out in California.
This is what it looks like when you're riding a mountain bike down one of these
I'm
trails.
gonna
They're
get up
dodging out of your way.
I'm going to get up at 5 in the morning. I want to go enjoy the peace and the beauty of Southern California, and all you hear is having drones flying at your wife's fucking head, another guy dodging it. It's like they didn't even bother to edit it out of the video that this drone pilot gave no shits. He didn't care. The argument can be made is, hey, this is our habitat. This is a hiking trail. We're the hikers. You're in our area. You need to... No, literally, I'm riding a bike and this guy grabs his wife by the shoulder and pulls her out of the way. Of this
Funny if
drone.
somebody knocked it out of the sky.
Oh, I was hoping they would edit that part out, but it's like, it was like the most, usually they literally try to, a lot of them I just thought it was a dude with a really good GoPro riding down a bike trail. But this one was clearly a drone, and he gave no shits.
Read Chris's current comment.
That was Don Dujux. I already saw that one. Syllable limit? I already saw that one.
Nope, one below it.
No, I have nothing below that. That's the last one of my
Hey,
set.
had to listen. Do you guys remember Pete and Pete? Don reminds me of Artie and the Strongest Man in the World.
Yep. Not Pete. Yeah, Pete and Pete on Nickelodeon. They're both
Yeah.
redheads. Yep. That's funny.
That was evidently after my time.
No, yeah, it was right on my middle school time. So, before we get to the news,
Yep.
I've said this before and I'll say it again. Statistically, either Carrie and or myself will be on the news
Finding a dead body.
as the kayaker who found a dead body. Let's review, shall we? I have been fishing now for 1 year and 14 days. Now you say, Don, how do you know you've been fishing for 1 year and 14 days? Because on the 3rd, I had to renew my fishing license. In that time, I've rescued 2 young boys on a bass boat that the dad put in at the boat ramp, and there was nowhere to tie it off. And as he went to park the car, the bass boat drifted across the canal.
That sounds like some Griswold shit right there.
Now, I'm sure the 7-year-old, under normal conditions, knew how to pilot that trolling motor, but being in a situation of panic, he froze and didn't know what the fuck to do. And the dad's standing at the bottom of the ramp thinking, fuck, I don't want to swim this alligator-infested water. Then I came to the rescue, put the rope over one shoulder, and paddled with one hand back across the canal, thus delivering the boat and the children safely to their father.
Hey, speaking of that, when did Carrie end up in the drink?
We'll get to that momentarily. She's in the drink twice now. Once on purpose, once accidentally. Well, on purpose, reluctantly.
It looked like a different kayak, too. I didn't recognize that one.
Let's see.
Little Steve.
We have witnessed some young men who apparently went down to a jet ski dealership and said, boy, I'd sure like a jet ski, but I don't have a truck. And the salesman, not wanting to miss out on a sale, said, don't worry about it. That Nissan Maxima will pull that trailer just fine. And he was right. It'll pull that trailer out of that parking lot. It'll pull that trailer down US 41 in a nice level grade with nice road work and pavement. It might even... No, it wouldn't even. He brought this to a sand and dirt utilitarian style Cape Coral boat ramp.
We'll call it primitive.
It's primitive, but one can make the argument, and I'm one, that the primitives are better because the concrete boat ramps are the one that get the 3.5-inch layer of green slime at the bottom and make it super slippery. I've never slipped on a sand one, but I've bust my ass twice on a concrete boat ramp. So they put the jet ski in fine, pulled the trailer out without a problem because you have an empty trailer. There's no friction with the exception of the water wrapping its gentle hands and gently caressing the trailer as it pulls out of the water. But at the end of the day, when that jet ski has water in it, and it's sitting on the trailer, and the trailer now has water holding it down and holding the jet ski down, and the Nissan Maxima spinning tires, and slowly slips into the water
And now the trailer
with all
pulls
4
the car.
windows down, and it still took 20 minutes to sink. You can see this footage on my YouTube channel. The thumbnail is a picture
Yeah,
of the
almost
car.
best the Volkswagen Bug for floating, huh?
Then there was the time I came across the Santeria site, complete with goat head, severed chicken parts, and some other gross shit. That too can be seen on my YouTube video.
Some weird random shit so far.
Then there was the 2 times I've came across 2 different situations where people thought that these boat ramps were their boat ramps. And not only could they put their boat and or jet ski in, but then just drive away and leave their car and trailer parked in the boat ramp while they go out and have fun. After all, this is my world. It's my boat ramp. Fuck everybody else. So Carrie and I were out kayaking on Sunday.
Yep.
Over at Academy. Now, Academy is supposed to be the place for peacock bass, but in our first 3 trips there, the water, because of the drought, has been an entire foot deep with 13 inches of grass. You do the math. Not fun. But we've gotten a good 2 weeks worth of rain, and all of our canals around here have been up 4 feet. So what used to be 1.5 to 2 feet is now 5 to 6 feet. 9 feet
Now,
in
is that
some
close to
spots.
normal?
Yes, it's closer to normal. So we went over to Academy this weekend, and it was a maximum of 2.5 feet with 24 inches of grass bed. You do the math. And not only that, but it had this green funk on the water. The only way I could describe it, I don't even know if this is a thing. Is cabbage soup a thing?
Yep.
Imagine
is.
paddling through cabbage soup, but not fresh cabbage soup that your Scottish or Irish grandmother made. Nay, this is the cabbage soup that's been sitting in a pot at the bad restaurant that closed down 2 weeks ago, and you found yourself kayaking in it, so every time you paddled, the gross, slimy cabbage would end up in your lap. But we're making do because we're invested at this point. And out of the periphery of my left eye, as I'm doing a TikTok live, no GoPros because I forgot to charge the batteries.
No.
GoPro live.
He had one job.
Still got footage. I have GoPro live. Not GoPro, TikTok live. I hear a splash, and I see what appears to be somebody doing a cannonball off the end of their dock. To
And
which I
this isn't the
say-
cabbage soup?
So I said, what the hell was that? And then I see something white standing up. I said, oh shit, a dog just fell off the dock. Or jumped. Don't know. To which Carrie astutely said, well, how's it going to get back up? Because most of these seawalls are developed. These aren't undeveloped seawalls like where Carrie and I fish. Where we prefer to fish, this is a more developed neighborhood. So majority of these properties have a, with the water as low as it is, a 6 to 7 foot straight up concrete wall. No dog is going to jump up that. We prefer to fish in undeveloped neighborhoods, but more and more of these undeveloped neighborhoods are getting developed. That's another story for another time. And I said, I don't know, let me go look. And as I'm paddling over, I said to myself, I hope this dog ain't on a fucking rope. Paddle closer, and Self said, yes, it's on a fucking rope. And as a dog might do if it accidentally fell into a canal after chasing a big-ass iguana, it freaked out. Now, Gordon, you take a dog for a walk every day.
Yep.
You take a young dog for a walk on a leash that's learning how to use a leash.
Yeah, especially the retractable ones. And what happens when you drop one?
Why don't you lean into that microphone a little bit so the people at home playing along can hear
Especially
you.
the retractable ones. And what's really funny is when you drop the retractable one, how it scares the shit out of them.
And no, Chris Quinton, I have not exceeded my syllable quota for the day, so inevitably, when you're walking
Now he has.
when you're walking a small dog on a leash, what tends to happen? It manages to get wrapped around every fucking inanimate object between you and wherever you're going, even though that mailbox may be 30 yards away. Somehow it gets to...
Hold on. Have you taught Bailey not to wrap herself up yet?
Yes, but
Okay.
dogs, and this was a young dog. So anyhow, I'm getting to this young dog standing in the canal with its super long leash, because you would think if you're the type of person who's going to force your dog to stay in the backyard on a long leash, that maybe, possibly, I don't know, you would maybe do the math. Say, hey, there's 30 yards between my back door and the seawall. Maybe we should put him on a 20-yard long leash instead of a 100-yard leash. So this dog fell off and had enough rope to wrap
Dang.
around the piling twice and still not be rigid. Still has plenty of room. And so I'm paddling over. This thing's freaking out. It's standing under the dock. Luckily, the water's only up to its knees, but I'm guessing it's probably, I would assume it's standing on sharp coral, because that's what happens under docks. And,
Coral in brackish water or swamp water?
well, coral's a kind of a generic term for all that shit that grows on steps on docks and all that crap.
Gotcha.
The shells, the barnacles, the marine life,
The funk.
the funk, the pokey stuff. And Carrie's like, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know. So I was like, I wonder if I can get near this thing. Paddle over, and rightfully so, some weird object come paddling out of the sea after you've fallen into the water and freaking out. You start barking at it. So luckily the
The
water,
doggo was still in panic mode.
the water's still low enough that I'm able to basically pull up to the, now next to the house is an undeveloped seawall, but it's all woods and trees. But I was able to dock my boat, pretend like I'm doing a savage race, and huff myself over the 6-foot seawall because I've been training. And I take my phone with me, and I go knock on the guy's door. Hey, your dog fell in the water. To which his response was, okay. Apparently found it quite amusing.
Again? It fell in again?
Well, this is a young dog. I think it's relatively new. Sadly, there was a dog house in the backyard, which meant it lived out there. And I said, well, the leash is wrapped around a piling. So they go out, and they unfish this dog and get him off the leash. And the first thing he does is run over to me, like, thank you, thank you, thank you. Came over and started licking me, happy. And we get in our kayaks, and we paddle away. And the sad realization came to us that this dog probably lives in the backyard, is on this leash, and there's a good chance that if Carrie and I wouldn't have seen this fucking dog fall in the water, it could have been in there for hours, assuming they have a feeding schedule that they don't often overlook. What if they forgot to feed it that night? And that thing's in the
What about
water.
the gators.
Exactly. That thing could have been gator bait, tied up around this fucking dock in the water all night.
Honey, my dog had turned into an alligator.
It's just like, why wouldn't you do the math? He's like, yeah, he's probably chasing after iguana.
I don't like math.
Fell
I
in.
don't like math. I don't do math.
We've said it before. We said it again. Don't buy a goddamn dog that's going to live in your yard. Don't tell me it's a guard dog because I'll just break in front of your house because your dog's locked up in the back.
So, Carrie fell in a drink twice.
Oh, yeah. So, we used to tandem kayak, which is the quickest way to end a relationship.
Is that because you want to go in different directions or one person does the work?
Well, it's because you got two people in a 12-foot kayak fishing with 7-foot-long fishing poles. One
Lots
person,
of hooks and things.
well, it means one person's got to fish off the right side of the kayak. The other person got to fish off the left side of the kayak. One person wants to fish here. The other person wants to fish there. One person gets snagged. The other person got to reel in. It's just a nightmare.
Okay.
So at some point or another, we realized, hey, let's take both kayaks out. Got little Steve and Big John. I'll pull the front seat off of Big John, and I'll sit in that sumbitch like Chris Farley in the back of the canoe and Tommy Boy. Except for the kayak is a little more buoyant, and it doesn't quite do the rake as the canoe so comically did, which in real life it wouldn't have, but it's a movie. So, you know, it did have a little bit of a rake. It rode kind of like a Carolina squat kayak, but it was nice. I had the room to put my poles
Call
in
that
front
a
of me.
Cape Coral squat.
But because I'm riding in the ass into this thing and not in the center, and all the wind, and the fact that the thing weighs 85 pounds empty, and it requires an extension to be put on my truck every time we take it out, it's a lot of work. You're unloading two kayaks, one of them's 12 foot long, it weighs a ton, and all the wind, you know, you're out there in 14, 15 mile an hour winds, this thing's just blowing all over the place. So tax return season comes along, and Carrie says, hey, I didn't have to buy a new car. Didn't have to drop $3,000 on a down payment. We went over to Dick's Sporting Goods, and she got herself another little Steve, which it was pretty cheap. Of course, I got my little Steve off a buddy of mine for like $200 because he bought it and sat in its backyard for 3 years. But she bought one at Dick's, and so now we have little Steve and Lily. Lily's the color of lily pad, since the name. And perfect. Load up both kayaks, are both small. Now it's like instead of driving around in the old Cadillac, I'm driving around a little sports car. We still have Big John for when, which ironically, the very next day after buying Lily and mounting Big John on the wall, Sarah says, I want to go fishing. So now I got to get this goddamn 80-pound kayak that I have strapped to the wall using anchors and pulleys and black and white 8x10s with X's and arrows and paragraphs on the back of each one saying what it was. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Walk on. So I had to drag that thing down and take it out, but we still have Big John. I would like to sell it. And kid wants to get kayak and tough shit. You've only gone 5 times since we've owned the fucking thing. But anyhow, I digress. So Carrie has her own kayak. She's making her way on TikTok. She does these TikTok lives fishing. She'll get 200 people in there and 300 and get 100 new subscribers in one night. I'll go live and get like 8, but that's all right.
It's because you're a dude.
Well, it's funny. They've throttled her down too. Now she's getting the same audience as me because she hit 10,000. I think once you get in that creator fund or get close to it, TikTok starts throttling down your views so they don't have to pay you so much.
Almost had it.
But so we were out fishing one day, and now these Teton 100s aren't meant for standing up on. You can stand up on them if you're fucking a balance beam, an Olympic, or someone who skateboarded for 18 years and snowboarded for 12 years and surfed a few times, such as myself. I have stood up on mine to straighten myself out or to get hooks and whatnots out of trees, and it has now been a year and 17 days, and I have or 15 days, and I have never fallen out of my kayak. Knock on glass. I was around the corner, and Carrie's in the middle of a TikTok live, and she got a bait stuck in a tree, and she stood up on her kayak, trying to get it out, and this video is on her TikTok, and she leaned a little left to the left, the boat went to the right, and she fell in. First time in a year anyone's fallen off the kayak. So she fell in.
That's good for you generating views.
Luckily, the kayak didn't flip over. She just lost her balance and fell off of it, so luckily she didn't lose any of her shit in the water. Because kayaks are really not... they're hard to flip over. I mean, you might roll out of them, but it takes a special kind of fucking dipshit to physically flip a kayak over. That's because you held onto the handle when you went. You know, you didn't just fucking...
Yeah, you did it on purpose, pretty much.
Or you freaked out and, you know, It's the same equivalent of how hard is it to flip over a jet ski. You might fall off of it. To actually make the thing upside down, it takes a lot of fucking... You don't just go with the fall. You're fighting it. Don't fight it. Go with the fall. That way you don't lose your shit. So anyhow, she swam to the bank, and I went over and pushed her kayak to her, and it was all fun. Well, she has gotten to the point on TikTok where she has people offering her discount codes or maybe even sending her some stuff. And she got some baits in. And we were out seawall fishing because the wind was super high. And like the third cast, she put this fucking brand new topwater in a tree. Just got the fucking thing. And she did not want to tell the person that she just got this thing from that she already lost it in a fucking tree. And she had already been in that canal once. So now, to be fair to me, because it wasn't very chivalrous on my part, but this was one of those days we were in a hurry to go after I got home from work. And since we didn't go on a kayak, I didn't change. So I had on tennis shoes, jeans, my firearm, t-shirt, belt, hat, a whole 9 yards, GoPro camera.
So you didn't have you didn't have on canal attire.
She had on fishing shorts and a shirt and flip-flops. So what are our choices? Me get butt naked on the side or go get in the water in my jeans, shoes, firearm, shirt, and the whole 9 yards, or the person wearing flip-flops and basically swimming shorts?
Yeah, you're dressed for the occasion, babe.
Yep. And I had the GoPro camera on. Gotta get that content. And so she went into the... And it was up in the tree, but you can see in the video, it was dangling above the water. We just couldn't... We didn't want to take it up. The hook would get snagged. So she had to go into the water and grab it, swim it back, and cut the line so she can recover her nice top water. So that was her second time in the water. But yeah, she fell out once, and the other time she went in voluntarily to rescue some bait. I once got one stuck in a tree. We were fishing from a seawall on a dock on an abandoned property. There was no house. And my Guggen revolver got cut in a tree. I cut the line. And then I went back the next day with my kayak, dragged my kayak on the dock, jumped in, paddled across, and then got my bait out of the tree. But that one she had to go swimming for. So that is why. Oh, poor putty dog.
Okay.
Now, Lifetime makes a Teton Angler Pro, which is about 12 feet long, and it's designed for a single user with stand-up. Not quite there yet, but maybe next year's tax season I might upgrade, unless I get to find people at Lifetime Kayak just to send me one. But
Do you think I heard him or something? Oh. Apparently I was.
that just sounded to me like a tired yawn more than a yelp.
Oh, I didn't see if he yawned. It may have been a yawn.
Joining us now from the Digital 410 West News Desk in Las Vegas, Nevada, Gordon Abernathy.
Gordon, how you doing tonight?
Possibly better than this Russian state TV talk show host.
That's a long title to fit on a resume.
On a Russian, this comes in from the New York Times. Might as well give them credit. On Russian talk show, retired colonel stuns colleagues by saying the invasion is not going well.
Do what now, comrade?
This may put him in the gulag.
It's
A military analyst on one of Russia's state television's most popular TV or networks left his fellow panelists stunned in silence Monday when he said that the conflict in Ukraine was deteriorating for Russia.
Wait a minute.
Now, I don't know if this is the same show that...
Hold on. So are they now no longer calling it a military exercise?
Don't know.
Because he said
I'm
the
sure
conflict.
some of them are doing. Well, this could be just the wording from the New York Times.
I gotcha.
This is not a direct quote. Now, his quote is, "The situation for us will clearly get worse." Mikhail M. Oh, here we go. Kododarchik,
Fast and hard.
a retired colonel and conservative columnist on military affairs, said during the 60 Minutes talk show program on the Roisha network. That's the network I think, what's his name, Turkla plays all the time when he does his podcast. It was a rare moment of frank analysis in a country where criticizing the war effort can result in prison sentence, and broadcasters have generally adhered to the Kremlin's talking points. The problem is for this colonel, he referred to sometimes obliquely, including low morale, the array of Western countries aligned against Russia, and the amount of fighters and material that Ukraine was assembling.
We've run out of tom-toms.
Yeah, pretty much. Strapping those Android Google Earth GPS maps to their ship.
No, I seriously think they're tom-toms because Google doesn't offer Google Maps over there. I think they're using the old tom-toms like we had in 2004 where you had to physically plug in your computer and download updates for it once a month.
According to the analyst, quote, "We are in total geopolitical isolation, and the whole world is against us, even if we don't want to admit it." Noting that Russia's resources, military, political, and military technical, they like that military technical term, are limited. He urged Russians not to take informational sedatives.
Their technical advancement is about the quality of ColecoVision. They're
Thought
running
a
tanks from
technical was like
1972.
I thought a technical was basically like a Toyota pickup truck with a Modus on it.
Yeah.
But so he's basically saying don't take the informational sedatives. The clip was first highlighted by Francis Scar of BBC Monitoring, which tracks Russian broadcasts. Kardarnak did not immediately respond to requests for further comment. Aside from questioning Russia's position, it was a remarkable moment because this gentleman noted that Ukraine seems to have the momentum right now. Russians mistakenly tended to try to extrapolate the problems of a few soldiers in the Ukrainian army to denigrate its whole military, he said. In reality, we were ready to field 1 million men if given sufficient weapons. Where highly motivated, it would have been receiving an increasing quality of military support from the United States and Europe. Basically, they had to
They would
fight
never
in
got-
them. Russians don't, you
I
know.
was going to say they would never gotten any support from us.
No, they're saying that the Ukrainians had 1 million people ready to go with the support of everybody else. The Russians, not so much. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I think this may hopefully be the signs of some internal strife in Russia.
I saw a very confusing article today
There's a few of them out there.
that said something about keep an eye out for a Russian broadcast of whatever famous ballet they're responsible for bringing to the world.
Yeah.
Swan Lake or one of those fucking things.
Yep.
They were alluding to that they only broadcast this ballet during national strife or historical events.
Uh-huh.
Kind of alluding to that if for some reason they broadcast this ballet, it would be a sign that Putin has passed away. But it was a very convoluted, confusing article.
Yeah, there's rumors that he's got some kind of blood cancer. The rumors, one can only hope. I hate to say that. But
I don't hate to say that. Fuck it. Hope he dies. There,
Yeah.
I said it.
There
I
you
don't
go.
regret it. I'm a man of my word. I conferred and I said
apparently,
it.
I'm feeling a little sleepy by having that regret. But moving on from Ukraine and Russia,
You're just afraid that you're going to get tapped by Russian troll bots
I don't care.
in your sleep.
As long as it's not in my sleep.
Your
man.
Roomba's going to get hacked by a Russian hacker.
Well,
And
good
it's
thing
going
the
to
smart
chase you
one's
down with a
downstairs. The
broomstick.
dumb
It's going
Roomba's
to turn
up
you
here.
into a Humbo Bissell.
Yep. So, out of Elizabeth City, North Kakalaki, also known as North Carolina, coming in from the Associated Press. According to a judge, regulators are wrong to ban a beer label that had a naked man on it. North Carolina I'm digging deep for oddities right now. North Carolina regulators were wrong to reject a beer label that featured a silhouette of a naked man standing next to a campfire. Okay, a hippie. I'm imagining some kind of hippie deal. According to a federal judge. The owners of Maryland-based Flying Dog Brewery, now I can't speak, argued that the North Carolina Alcohol Beverage Control Commission violated their First Amendment rights by rejecting the label for its Freezin' Season Winter Ale.
Have you seen this label?
No, I have not.
I'm looking at it right now.
Should it have been banned?
Continue, and I'll get into that.
The commission said that the label was in bad taste, but later allowed the beer to be sold. Flying Dog proceeded with the lawsuit anyway, hoping to get the regulation struck down. In comes U.S. District Judge Terrence W. Boyle, who ruled in favor of the craft brewery last week, finding that the regulation was vague and overboard, violating free speech rights of Flying Dog and its competitors. The ruling requires North Carolina to remove the current regulation, according to Flying Dog CEO Jim Caruso. And he said this is heartening to see this court decision. The First Amendment is the last defense against the authoritarian and arbitrary government and must be protected against all threats.
Now, I know you're on the What's in Your Head podcast Facebook page watching the live stream, so just go ahead and back out to the main What's in Your Head timeline there.
I dumped it.
Well, go on back. I just posted this beer label. Now, for those of you playing at home with the Audible game, when Gordon said a silhouette, you're probably much like me, imagine kind of like the mud flap silhouettes of the busty lady or the fat dude with the trucker cap and the dad bod, that type of silhouette. This is not a silhouette. This is a very mid-90s, early 2000 artsy-fartsy watercolor. To say this is even a naked guy when it's basically just two legs and an arm and an ink blotch for a head. I mean, the guy doesn't even have an ass crack. To say that this thing is even remotely anything offensive. Now, you can make the argument that the yellow paint splotch looks like he's pissing on the fire, but there's yellow fire coming out. This thing is by no means even remotely offensive, and any child would not even gather that that's even supposed to be a human being. It almost looks like a jacked up flamingo. It's a watercolor painting. It's not even remotely. You can't even say that that's even a silhouette.
Yeah, the federal judge was right.
That is a bit of a reach. I mean, it's actually take that stupid logo
like
off.
a Rorschach test.
Let's say take the logo off and take the the federal government alcohol symbol in their little mission statement, that'd be a cool painting to have on your wall in your college dorm. It's literally just a watercolor. It's very well done, but
Actually, it almost looks like the guy who did it is the guy who did Opus. And
yeah, I was
Boom
gonna say the
County.
penguin. The penguin cartoon.
I actually follow him on Facebook. Berkeley Berthard or something like that.
A mix between that and the Max comic books.
So it almost looks like Build a Cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To say that's even remote.
Yeah, Build a Cat had no fur.
Like I said, you don't even have an ass crack. To say that this is even remotely offensive, it's just insane. It's a reach.
He's got a little something going down there, but that's because it's probably freezing season.
Oh, you talking about that little tiny bump between the two legs?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Everything's all up inside. It's cold out. Anyway, yeah, good call on the judge. Bad call on.
There's no reason to ban that. That's a very cool artistic label.
Yes. Now you want to go buy some in the winter, don't you?
Yeah.
Australia.
Hey?
Sydney.
Huh?
They've had some interesting shit going on the last 2 years.
I was such a fan of Australia because of our history with them with World War II. It broke my heart to see their government do to their people what they did during the pandemic.
Well, coming out of Sydney on the AP, a man impersonating North Korean leader Kim Jong-un on Friday has now disrupted the Australian election campaign, where he burst into an event that Prime Minister Scott Morrison was attending with lawmaker Gladys Liu. The impersonator, who later identified himself as his stage name, Howard X, started talking to gather media. Thank you very much. Gladys Liu is the communist candidate for Australia, he said.
He looks like Kim Jong.
Yes, he does.
He's actually skinnier.
Well, Kim Jong did lose a lot of weight. He said before he was interrupted by an aide to Morrison, "Excuse me, you're going to leave. This is the most offensive thing I've ever seen in the campaign," according to the aide, Nick Creevy. Oh, Creevy's a pretty creepy last name, too. The impersonator responded, "Excuse me, you don't tell the Supreme Leader what to do.
Now,
I support Gladys Liu." So basically, the
Is
more
this-
conservative had this this guy who's he came in just to say, yes, she really is a communist. I, Kim Jong, back her.
now,
He did leave the Melbourne venue shortly after that.
are you looking at this photo?
I've seen it.
Did he have Hollywood makeup tape over his eyes? Did he have plastic surgery? Is he
He's
remotely Asian?
He's Chinese.
Is he?
Yes.
But in that picture, it's so close. He almost looks like a white dude
He
doing
was-
an Asian
he's-
face.
Oh, wait, hold on. Maybe I'm wrong. She was born in Hong Kong, living in Australia for more than 30 years. That's the, I don't know where he comes from.
He looks like he's white, but it looks like he put makeup over
They don't
his
give his
eyelids to make it look like he... Here, I'm going to post the photo on our page now. I'll post the link. But he looks like he prosthetically made himself... forgive me for possibly insensitive, but Asian eyes. I just posted it. Go to the photo and zoom in. It looks like
Here we go.
he looks like he did something to his eyes to make him look. See, you can always see like how he's got makeup on there. It looks like he
Yeah.
put tape and then like wax makeup. Yeah, that's definitely a white dude.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Now he's in yet. I almost said it.
Well, see,
I didn't want to say a certain color face.
yellow
but I
face.
almost did. Yes.
Hey, if we can say black face and all that, you can say yellow face.
We
I
do not
think.
support the yellow face movement. All right. I got a couple more stories here. Which one?
It's
do I
just
wanna
nice to
do?
see those crazy people in Australia too.
Oh, yeah. 19-year-old South Florida woman has fled from the law enforcement in the Florida Keys on Thursday.
She swim or take
Decided
a boat?
to tell the deputy who caught up with her that getting arrested was on her, bucket list.
I was gonna say, if you're gonna run from the police, Florida Keys is not the place to do it because there's only two ways off
One
the
road.
island. One road or one boat, and either
And
way
that
you're
road
getting
will end
caught.
if you're going south.
Yeah.
She was charged with fleeing and eluding. Monroe County Sheriff's officials said deputies spotted the woman's vehicle driving recklessly. Gosh, I
Now
am
who's
sleepy.
out of syllables, you fuck?
Just before 8 a.m. And I haven't even been drinking. On Thursday, he turned on his lights and sirens, as one cop would do when they're trying to get somebody's attention and pull
That's
them
the sound
over.
of the
But the car
police.
did not immediately stop. Thus, the chase ensues. But before she was taken into jail, she said this has been on her bucket list since high school. Now, she is only 19 years old, so that
Been a short 3
year or
years.
two is kind of short. And the final story, and this could cause heartburn for Don and anybody else who lives in Cape Coral. Next steps for the $185 million Cape Coral Bridge renovation. Is it under construction currently?
Not yet, but which bridge is it? The Cape Coral Bridge?
Yep.
That's one by my
Community
work.
litters.
Fantastic.
Community litters. Holy fuck. So prepare for, if you live in Cape Coral, you will probably get charged a bill to help pay for said bridge.
Well,
Anyway.
why? We're already paying toll. The toll
Just
that never
because
paid
it's-
off the old
Just
bridge.
because it sounds like they charge for everything out there anyway. Like water.
Water.
And not the hookup. But anyway, moving on.
I heard a guy say water. I was out on the kayak, and there was these 4 white trash dudes hanging by their duplex, and one of them actually
want
said
some water?
water. And white trash guy 1 looked like a 10-year-old older version of Dave. Dude was in his late 60s, maybe just a hard late 50s. Camouflage cargo shorts, backwards sun visor, American flag wife beater, and white trash guy number 2 was upset that some bastard stole the fishing pole out of his yard, because as we all do, we keep our fishing poles laying out in our fucking yard.
Well, fortunately for this project, you've got a little bit of time to plan. County leaders are accelerating a project upgrade to the Cape Coral Bridge, potentially costing $185 million. With inflation, it'll actually probably go up. The goal of these bridge upgrades are to reduce traffic crossing said bridge. Randy Creechy is the Lee County Director of the Department of Transportation, and he says, we know that we ultimately have to replace the westbound span and widen the eastbound span, so given these parameters, we fall into what you see today. I don't know how bad it is today to get across that bridge.
It's a
Clark
two.
County-
It's
Oh, sorry.
2 lanes each direction, and
One's got to get replaced.
the study was saying I think 30 to 45% of the Cape Coral population work outside of Cape Coral. And so you have the Cape Coral Bridge, which is 2 lanes going into Fort Myers, or you have the Midpoint Bridge, which is 2 bigger lanes going into Cape Coral, or you can drive all the way through North Fort Myers and take the 3rd bridge. But if you work in Fort Myers or down near McGregor, when I was doing at computers in the middle of snowbird season, if you had to be in Fort Myers at 9 o'clock, you went ahead and drove over there at 8 o'clock, because between 8:15 and 8:45, it's a fucking standstill because everybody's trying to get to work by 9.
Gotcha. Do you have to say McGregor?
McGregor.
Anyway, so here's the interesting thing. They're currently taking a snapshot of where the project stands currently 40 days into a 4-year design.
I just don't know how. They can't really make it wider because there's nowhere for the off ramp. Even if they made it wider, it's going to have to dump down into
they
2
can make it
lanes.
wider. They're going to they're going to widen the eastbound and then completely replace the westbound.
Only way they can do that, though, is they're going to have to not carpe diem, but not caveat emptor, that's buyer beware. What's the we take your shit because more people benefit from it law that the cities do? What do they call that when they come in and take your land because they need it for traffic?
I know what
Eminent
you're saying.
domain.
Eminent
They're
domain.
going to do some eminent domain on that fucking the golf course right there and steal a chunk of land so they can knock that wall down and
Possibly.
put in a fucking off ramp.
Well, here's the interesting. So they're pushing this up by 2 years. So they're planning to start construction in December of 2026
Okay.
and finish in January of 2030. So you've got some time to plan some
5
alternate
fucking
routes.
years to do this bridge. I think they built the Sanibel Causeway quicker than that.
Well, they're only 40 days into a 4-year design, thus why it doesn't start until 2026. In reality, it won't start until a little later than that, knowing construction.
I guess.
So, yeah, according to Wink, you got that to look forward to.
Don't you feel like you're quoting our aunt every time you do a news story from Wink?
Yeah, I try not to read. I try to add my own shit to it, but that is it for the news.
This concludes the evening news, and now back to the ACT Computer Studio in Cape Coral, Florida.
The now defunct ACT Computer Studios in Cape Coral, Florida. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of the What's in Your Head podcast. We want to thank you guys for joining us for another episode, and if you want to help support the podcast now that we really need it, if you're a business owner and you want to advertise, we got some extremely low rates, embarrassingly low rates. If you want to advertise, please email at info@d-410.com. Not only will you be advertising on the What's in Your Head podcast, you'll also be getting advertisement on the Fail to Fail podcast, the What's the Scuttlebutt podcast, and the Tackle Your Personal Bed podcast. But you can also support us by going over to d-410.com. We're looking for Digital 410 on Patreon. Sign up. It's only $1 a month, and that'll go a long way to help. And also, if you just go over to YouTube and just watch our videos, you don't even have to watch them. Just play our videos. Turn on your Roku TV, load up YouTube, go choose a playlist, hit play, and then go watch TV in the other room. Just let that fucking video play so we get those counts up. Before we wrap it up, I want to take a trip back in the Wayback Machine. A little band called Twisted, their singer Monoxide Child, did a solo album. And Monoxide was a proud Newport smoker, and the name of this album was Chain Smoker, and it looks like a pack of Newports. But he did this little clip-it that was kind of funny back in the day, but little did we realize how true it would be short 10 years later. So enjoy this before we go out.
Fucking time. Sit here all night. Right? All that night long as fuck. What's going on? Nice. Hold on. Yeah, let me get
Sir, no,
What?
No, sir, there's no smoking, sir.
No,
there's no. Put the cigarette out, sir.
What? No, I'm in my car.
Your car's a restaurant ground, sir. There's no smoking.
You're telling me I can't smoke in my car?
Yes, sir. By being in your car, this gives me the right to tell you no smoking.
That doesn't make any sense.
It makes perfect sense, sir. Your car's on their drive-through parking space.
What do you mean, because I'm in the drive-thru? I'm not in the restaurant. I'm outside. What do you mean I can't smoke?
This is a smoke-free establishment, sir.
You're fucking insane. What is wrong with you?
Of course you got me, sir. I will notify the police.
What do you mean you're calling the cops?
We gotta go.
I'm having a cigarette.
Pull off,
Yes, sir. No,
I'm in my car.
the police are on their way, sir. Yes, thank you. Have a nice day.
Go.
What the fuck?
Go.
We've all been there.
Yeah. Get the fuck out of here. Are you fucking serious?
I'm not, but that shit your car just did
Hey,
is.
fuck you. I'm on probation like a motherfucker, man. Oh, hell no. These motherfuckers gone, man. Damn, man. Look, just chill out, man. Just chill out. I know how to talk to these motherfuckers, man. Hold up.
Yeah, what seems to be the problem?
Yes, the problem, officer, is that the man inside of the restaurant has called you because I am smoking in the drive.
Out of the car! Get out of the car and on the ground right now.
Hey,
Passenger,
man,
keep your hands where I can see them.
I was just smoking a goddamn cigarette in the drive-thru, man. This is some bullshit.
Leave it alone.
Smoking in a drive-thru is illegal.
It's not illegal. What are you talking about? I was outside.
Hey, as far as I'm concerned.
I'm on the ground. What the fuck is wrong?